And that really can be whatever is comfortable. It doesn't have to be sitting on the ground or sitting up on anything. But I have a blanket and I always tend to set my hips up a little ways to make sure that my low back feels good. So adjust to the height or sitting in a chair that feels the best in your body for this first part, the centering. So then move your sitting bones. And then as you rest your hands down, think of lengthening up through your sides, drawing shoulder blades onto your back, and then let your eyes close. And as you take a couple big breaths here, we're purposely noticing our ability to ground and our ability to actually take that action. So notice an inhale that lengthens your spine, and notice an exhale that helps you root down more through whatever is your seat. So that could be your sitting bones in your legs, it could be your feet on the ground, whatever it happens to be. But take a couple more breaths this way, inhaling to grow longer, and exhaling to feel a press down into your seat. As you take your next couple of breaths, also begin to add a little bit of attention to the breath itself. As you inhale and pause, just allow a short moment to notice. Exhale and pause. Take that moment again. A couple more this way. Full, long, deep inhale. Long, full exhale. Then come back to a natural breath. And bring hands to connect at heart center. And as you gently press your palms together, lift up through your shoulders, lengthen the back of your neck. And then exhaling, bow toward your heart. Then softly let your eyes open and release your hands down. And now we're going to shift right away into a child's pose. And so if child's pose is tense on the knees, then you can always stay up a little higher. If it feels okay on the knees, then you're going to let your hips come as far back as is comfortable toward your heels to let your head rest down. And it's from right here that you get to start to take some full breaths and add a little bit of movement. So inch your fingertips further forward, move a little side to side through the hips. And as I said, if it feels better, you can always have your hips a little lifted and even your elbows a little bit bent. Taking one more moment to notice what is connecting the ground, connecting to the ground. And then gently bring yourself up to your hands and knees, and we'll do just a little bit of work from our hands and knees. So if you would like to add a little cushion for your knees, you can bring a blanket underneath them here, or you can always roll up your mat if you're using one. But now from your hands and knees, we're going to get a little bit into the hips. So inhale, reach back with your right leg, stretch it back, reaching through your heel. And then turn open with your hip, turning your hip up, turning your toes a little bit to the side. And then as you exhale, turn your hip back down. Inhale, turn up with your hip, and exhale, turn your hip back down. Take one more this way. Inhale, open, and exhale, come back into center. And now step right foot forward in between your hands, and here's where you might start to use some blocks or something resembling blocks. Work your back knee back as far as you need. That sometimes gives you a little added stretch through the quads, through the back thigh. Take a full, big, deep breath and send your ribs more forward, collarbones more forward. Full inhale and exhale. Just noticing for yourself what this stretch is like for you. And now stepping back onto your hands and knees, set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And then inhale, reach back with your left leg, press through your heel toward the wall behind you, and begin to turn open with your hip. Full big deep breath. Then as you turn your hip back down to level, notice that press through the heel, the extension through your heart space. Inhale, open it up, and exhale back to level. Inhale, open it up, and exhale back to level. And now step left foot forward in between your hands. And again, blocks if you would like. Work your back knee back as far as you need and extend longer through your heart, through your ribs, collarbones. Deep breath. And then step back to your hands and knees, and we're going to switch sides, bringing the right leg forward in just a moment. But first, as you set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, start to create a good strong press with your hands, strengthening through the shoulders. Then reach back with your right leg. This time, bend your knee, turn open with your hip. So now you're pressing your right heel toward the left side and reaching through your right thigh toward the wall behind you. Big deep breath. And now step right foot forward in between your hands, and then find whatever you're using for one block or two, whatever it is. If you have just one, then you can bring it to the left side of your right leg. If you have two, you can have it on either side. But then we're going to work our front leg towards straight into this hamstring stretch, going for that stacked place for your back thigh. Flex your foot, drawing your right toes back, and then press your heel down. And now as you send your sitting bones up, find a rotation with your legs. It's like you're waving with your foot, but it's all the way from the hip socket. And as you do this, you're trying to keep your hips level. Tendency is for the whole hip to move, but try just to move the leg. And then bend into your front knee. Find a stacked place for your front shin. And then we'll take a little spinal twist. You can have left hand on the block or the floor on the outside edge of your mat. Right hand to your knee as you start to turn your belly and your heart to the right side. Put both shoulder blades on your back. Take a big, full, deep breath. And now setting both hands down, you'll come back to your hands and knees and set yourself up. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And again, push with your hands, expanding into the upper back, letting your shoulders be your strength. Inhale, lengthen back through your left leg. Turn open with your hip, bend your knee, and press your heel toward the right side. Your thigh is reaching toward the wall behind you. Take a full big breath. And then step left foot forward in between your hands and find your blocks. Work to the highest point, whatever you're using, and then shift your hips back. You can bring your blocks with you here, but find that place where your back thigh can be stacked straight up and down. And then flex your foot, pull your toes back towards your knee. And now as you send your sitting bones up, rotate your leg, getting into different parts of your hamstring as you rotate. So it's not just the one part that we typically stretch. Trying to work toward the inside and the outside as well. Good. And then bend into your front knee. And find that stacked place for your front shin, straight up and down. And find your right hand on your block or on the floor, your choice. Left hand to your knee as you take that spinal twist over to the left side. Take shoulder blades onto your back and take a full, big, deep breath. And now as you bring both hands down to the front of your mat, you're stepping back to your hands and knees again, settling back into your child's pose and taking a moment to tune into whatever is showing up for you, whatever has started to show up for sensation. Maybe let your head rest down on something. And again, you're always welcome to let your hips be a little bit lifted here. You're always welcome to let your elbows be bent. Take one more big breath in this child's pose. And then gently push yourself up to your seat, and we're going to come all the way down to sitting bones. And then if you have a blanket, find a roll for yourself. Roll up your blanket. If you don't, that's okay. You can do this pose without a rolled up blanket. But soles of feet come together into your butterfly and pull feet toward you to the place where you can sit up tall, all the way from down low in your spine. So your pelvis can tilt forward, your belly can tilt forward. If you have a blanket, then you can set it over your feet and then wrap it underneath your legs. This gives you a little ankle support. You can also bring blocks underneath your knees for support here. So you get to choose what sort of support you give yourself. And then move sitting bones back and broad. It helps to lean a little forward and move your torso a little side to side to do that. And then you're holding on where it feels the best for you to sit tall. So press fingertips behind you, take a hold of your blanket or your feet or your shins, but find a long spine. Let your eyes close for a moment here and take a full big breath. Just noticing that opening through the inner thighs. And now if you have a little bit of movement there from the hips, then you're welcome to hinge at the hips and fold, and maybe take your hands out to something in front of you, maybe blocks or the floor, your choice. Or my favorite is to hold on to either my feet or my blanket here and rest elbows against my calves. But you get to decide how this looks, ideally finding that place where your spine is still nice and long, all the way down at your pelvis. And finding that tilt of your belly forward, full big deep breath. And now inhale, gently bring yourself all the way back upright. And knees come together. We're going to extend our legs out in front of us, and you get to pick what you use for a prop. If you have a prop, you're going to set something underneath your legs. It can be as big as a bolster or as small as a blanket, or you can just keep your knees bent and your heels on the ground. That's always an option too. So now, placing something underneath your legs, shift your sitting bones, press down with your fingertips and lengthen, lift your heart. And from this place, you'll take as deep a fold again here as your body is ready for. You might rest your arms against your legs or reach out for your feet, or rest your elbows against your thighs. Just taking this a little bit of release through the fascia of the hamstrings. Big, deep inhale, longer through your spine. Long, full exhale. Maybe you find a little movement in your pose to deepen or to come out of it a little ways. Take full breath. One more full breath right here. Then inhale, gently bring yourself back upright. And you're gonna move the bolster aside. And now we're gonna take another hip opener that has two sides to it. So this one, we get to prop, especially if you have some tightness through the hips or if there's some considerable lift of the knee, okay? So as you take your left leg out in front of you, you're creating a little bit of a parallel place for your shin and the front of your mat. Give your foot a flex. So your left foot is drawing back towards your knee. And then your right foot, if it's in your practice, if it doesn't make your nervous system scream, then you're gonna set your right foot with a flex to it over and past your left knee. And from this place, I have a lot of space here, so I'm gonna add some props, okay? So as you come to that for yourself, if your body is saying, oh, heck no, then you're gonna set your foot down in front of you instead. You can still prop and make it more comfortable. So you get to find where this hip opener is for you, because it can be an intense one. It's a big hip opener, but it also has some releases to it that we don't get in some of our other hip openers. So now, long through your spine, and notice, how does it feel? If your nervous system is saying, oof, I don't know, then stay right here or back off a little ways. And then if you have a little more space, you might walk your hands forward and come into a little bit of a fold. These are logs on a fire pose. So you have your stacked shins to make up that fire log, stacking of a campfire basically. So take a full big deep breath and lengthen as you inhale. And as you exhale, maybe you find a little more depth, maybe you don't, maybe you come out of it a little ways. And now inhale, gently bring yourself back upright. Pause and re-lengthen. And then we're gonna fold one more time if there's a fold there for you. If not, then you're gonna stay nice and tall. So that was just a little bit of a pulse. Take a moment to notice where tension is. Let your breath help your nervous system soften. And then inhale, gently rise back up. And we'll switch sides, letting your right leg become your base. And think of shin about parallel with the front of your mat. Flex foot, and then flex your left foot as you set your ankle past your knee. The reason we set it past the knee is when you set it on the knee directly, oftentimes your left ankle will sickle here. And we want it to stay really stable for our ankle and for our knee. And then prop. Do whatever propping you need. It could be both knees, it could be under the hips. Take a big inhale and sit taller. And remember that foot can always be in front if this is too much. Exhale, hinge from the hips. If that's in your practice, maybe fold a little ways. You might even have enough movement there to be able to put your hands on something, but really enlightenment doesn't happen by folding all the way. Enlightenment happens by tuning into what's present and taking action with what's going on for you. Take a big, deep breath. Then inhale and rise back up. And just take a moment to lengthen again. So we're going to take that fold one more time if it's in your practice. Exhale and find your fold as deeply as your body needs to that place that's right for you. And again, for your next couple of breaths, see if you can notice where the tension is and breathe into it. Then inhale, rise all the way back up. And we're going to set both feet on the ground. And just take a moment here, knees bent, hands at your knees, to move a little through your spine. Inhale to sit tall and exhale to press your spine back. Then inhale, sit tall, and we're going to bring ourselves all the way down onto our backs. So you can move aside your props, but make sure that you can reach them. And then as you come all the way down onto your back, knees draw in toward your chest, and you can always have knees wide here if that's more comfortable, or knees more narrow, or anywhere in between to hug them in a little bit and rock. And as you do this, the intention is to give your back body a little bit of a massage from the ground, but it's also to let your low back lengthen. So think of lengthening one side and then the other side as you rock. And now, soles of feet are coming together. If it's comfortable for you to hold on to your feet here, then you can. If not, then you can set your legs down. Wherever that is for you, find a little movement through your pelvis. So you can do this whether your feet are up or down. You can do a little pivoting and shifting with your pelvis. And as you do that shifting, just notice around that sacrum area, around that part of your spine that's just above the tailbone. And take a couple big breaths to notice what that is for you, how it feels. And now draw knees in together, letting go of your feet if you're holding on to them. And we're going to take a spinal twist over to the right side. So drop your knees over to something. So you can set them on top of a pillow, a bolster, a block, whatever you happen to have. Both knees are coming over to the right. Both shoulders are still on the ground. So if you need to rise up a little ways or put something in between your knees to help that happen, you can. Open arms up to a T and take a big, full, deep breath. Palms are up. If it's comfortable, you can gaze to the left. Take a moment in this twist to just notice the pulsations that happen with your breath and the support that you have of the ground. And now knees are coming back up to center, and we'll switch our prop over to the left. And then take both knees over to the left, coming to that spinal twist on the second side. And again, both shoulders are down. If it helps to put something in between the knees too, feel free to. But open arms up to the T, take the gaze to the right if it's comfortable. Full big deep breath. And now inhale back up to center with your legs, set footprints on the ground. And you're gonna take whatever prop you are using underneath your legs if you have a prop. If you don't, then you're just bending your knees and dropping them in together to touch. Otherwise, let your legs come to rest against the ground and reach your arms up overhead toward the wall behind you. And from this place, stretch long, stretch so much that maybe you feel it all the way down into your low back. Maybe you feel a little lift from that stretch. And if you don't, that's okay too. We're just gonna send our breath there. So breathe into your low back muscles. Think of letting your inhales expand your muscles downward and your exhales to release your muscles. And now bring your arms out to a cactus. So a 90-degree angle, and if that's not comfortable, then you can come to the T instead. Palms are facing up. And from this place, a little movement through the head and the neck. So take a shake of your head no toward the ceiling. And then nod your head toward the ceiling. Then nod your head over to the right. And to the left. And now back into center, give yourself a hug. It doesn't matter which arm goes over the top, just take whichever side feels the best first. And walk your fingertips toward your shoulder blades, and then take a really big breath. And then open your arms up wide. And then wrap the other way. Cross the other way with your arms, taking that hug, and take a big breath, specifically in between your shoulder blades. And now relax your arms down. And then if this position feels comfortable for you to take your next couple of minutes of Shavasana, then you can stay right here. Your final rest. If it would feel better to switch to something more comfortable, feel free. This is your time to take whatever releasing pose would feel good in your body. And once you find that place for yourself, adjust for a few moments. And then give yourself permission to come to some stillness. Let yourself settle. And bring awareness to your breath. Bring gentle movement into fingers and into toes. Then as you're ready to, start to bend your knees and roll over to your side. And take a full breath on your side. And now gently press yourself back up to your seat. And bring hands to connect at heart center. With your eyes closed, take a full breath. Have a very peaceful, very beautiful rest of your night. Namaste. Thanks, you guys.